introduce you to our moderator, Mr. Rama Subramaniam. He's the co-founder and COO Strategic Initiatives BlackBuck. And now let me introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Shri Pawan Kumar Agrawal. He's the Special Secretary Logistics, Ministry of Commerce and Industry from Government of India. And for the panelists, we have Mr. Alok Joshi. He's the Vice President, Supply Chain Customer Service, Logistics and Transformation from Hindustan Unilever. Mr. Sumesh Rahavendra, he's the SVP Commercial from Freight Tiger. Mr. Nitin Jayakrishnan, Founder and CEO of Pando. I would request all the delegates to keep posting their questions in the chat box, and the panel will address selected few questions at the end of the session. Over to you, Mr. Rama Subramanian.
Yeah, thanks, Shivani. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thanks to IMI for scheduling and organizing this panel, and also very happy new year to all the delegates. We are not able to see you, but I'm sure there are many. So also take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Joshi, Nitin, and Sumesh. As we speak, we already see Sri Pawan Agarwal having come in. Good evening, sir. A warm welcome to you. He's just joining in.
Yeah, you can start my. Meanwhile, I'll switch on my camera. I think.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Okay.
Thanks for joining in. Yeah. So the panel today will be discussing about building the future-ready logistics network. We were discussing earlier also in the pre-discussion. India has seen a remarkable change in the last 5 years in the logistics landscape. There were many projects in the past as well, but what we have seen in the last 5 years, many of us clearly see that it would be shaping up the future of the logistics industry in India, starting with demonetization and then moving on to GST and government's thrust on the entire infrastructure, including even on the freight side, pushing the agenda of higher capacity vehicles and many other such initiatives, with a major disruption happening in 2020 in the form of COVID. We have seen quite a bit, and all these initiatives, as well as the COVID-related aspects, they definitely did have a great impact on the overall logistics landscape. And that's something that we would be discussing today. And I would also request to start with Sri Pawan Agarwal to actually address the audience on these aspects and how he sees, having come into the logistics domain, what his vision and how the various initiatives from the government on infrastructure and many other policies, how he sees all these things converging and how it is going to take us forward. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Subbu. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'm the only one in this 2 layers and a jacket on top. All of you are in shirts. So I'm sure you are from the south. You're joining in the call from the south,
Right.
So this entire space is perhaps dominated by people from South India, isn't it?
No, sir. I think Sumesh and Mr. Joshi from West.
Okay. All right.
There is a regional representation here.
Regional representation is there. Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity in this special session on building future ready logistics network for the country. I must place on record my deep appreciation for having thought to put in a session like this. I must also place on record that I believe your association has set up a separate group to look at logistics and supply chain issues, which is very heartening to see, because logistics and supply chain is omnipresence, and because of its omnipresence, people forget it. Okay, and it is so important as a glue to the economy and society that it is only during the COVID pandemic we recognized its importance. Otherwise, we tend to even forget and ignore it. Obviously, over the last few years, supply chain logistics has been one area where there has been a lot of startup activity, and particularly tech startups, in this space, both on people mobility and goods mobility. But of course, there were some experiences in people mobility. They were very successful. May not have been so much uh, uh, in the goods mobility sector, and we had been talking to the association as to what are the challenges that uh, you know uh, tech companies and logistics space face, and how can government help them. But looking at overall ecosystem for use of technology in logistics, this is a very important area, and perhaps this is one area which a lot of work is yet to be done. We have taken up some steps. I think so far the steps have been taken by individual transport ministries. We have heard of Sarthi and Vahan, which are really initiatives that touch lives of everyone. We have also heard of Railways CRIS initiative, which computerized the entire reservation system, which made life of common man so easy. And similarly, there are other initiatives like GSTN, which has a significant interface with logistics apart from a taxation portal, e-way bill portal, and e-invoicing system that has been introduced. So that is also making a huge impact on businesses and economy overall. Moving forward, the idea is that all these individual systems that have grown and being developed in silos, how do we bring them together, and create a logistics data stack, which can then be used by new age companies to provide market solutions in the logistics space. And through competition between these companies, I'm sure the users, the consumers will all benefit. So that is the way forward. We are working on it. To tell you very frankly, we do not have a very clear idea where we will land up. Even though we are very ambitious about the whole thing, but 8 different ministries and agencies and their legacy systems, how do we bring them together and create this unified logistic data stack is something that is going to be very, very challenging. And I do hope and wish that you continue to help us and support us in thinking through it, because this we are doing, to support the businesses that are in the technology space, and then finally serve the economy and society overall. So this is one area that we are currently focused on. Track and trace is another area where even though within the railways, I think there is a system in the railways to track movement of goods trains, and that information is available. But how can we create a track and trace system for trucks, which obviously will depend on GPS devices on the trucks, and the government has already taken a decision on this. It is a matter of rollout of those initiatives and creating control rooms at the back end, so that the information that is collected can be utilized either for enforcement or for data analysis, for finding freight flows, and then plan infrastructure for logistics. So one of the key challenges in the logistics space, perhaps more than in the passenger mobility, is the issue of empty runs. You know, uh, for instance, I'm sure the participants are aware of acute crisis about containers that the country has been facing. And as a nation, we do not have a very clear idea how these empty boxes, where these empty boxes are lying across the country. So currently, our logistics data bank that we collect data on mobility of containers across the country, they are collecting this data irrespective of the fact whether that container is full or empty. Now, how do we ensure that we are able to collect data in for empty containers and then inform the users, customers that an empty box is lying there, and you can reach out to that place and use it from there. So that kind of information is not available, and it has a lot of value if we are able to pull together such information. In terms of trucking, the entire transport sector, the trucking sector has been organized. Even legacy systems were transport companies who used to aggregate cargo and then send it in trucks from one destination to another. Companies like Freight Tiger and Blackbug, they helped in accelerating that process. But I think we still do not have a complete visibility of empty trucks available in our system. And that is one area that we are working with the GSTN to bring in that visibility so that there can be more efficiencies in the trucking space. Of course, needless to say that irrespective of these efficiencies that we might bring in, transparency that we might bring in, there will continue to be empty haulage. That will continue to be there because imbalances, that will be there in cargo flows. And you have to figure out how these imbalances can be addressed, as we move forward in terms of that is why in logistics we are taking a whole of the country approach when we are looking at developing technology solutions or even developing infrastructure for transportation and logistics in the country. So this is an important area of intervention. Another area of intervention, and a lot of documents and messages are exchanged in the logistics space, and many of these documents are very valuable documents, and currently many of them continue to be exchanged in paper formats because of the value that is attached with these documents. Electronic documents security becomes an issue, and therefore developing a platform for secured document exchange is something that was needed. The logistics division has created such a network or such a platform, and we are in the process of using it on a pilot basis before we roll out on an all India basis. Electronic delivery, proof of delivery is another area where it is technology issue, but more than technology issues, the confidence of the customers, whether they would like to use e-proof of delivery in their transactions or not. So I think the whole space of logistics, as far as use of technology is concerned, has many opportunities, but there are also many challenges in this space. And this is not alone in India. This is across the world. And moving forward, we have to figure out how do we address these challenges. There are more opportunities also in the private space, whether it is autonomous transport or smart factory logistics. So these offer huge scope for giving efficiencies, providing efficiencies in the supply chain across the board. And I'm sure this will dwell on those issues and help us and help the stakeholders in finding new ways of using technologies to improve performance in logistics, increase efficiency, and reduce costs. So I'll stop here and thank you, Subbu, for giving me this opportunity.
Subbu, I think you're on mute.
Sorry. Thanks a lot, sir. You touched upon all important areas, even from our earlier discussions. The vision document that you and your office, have created. It's very clear that these priorities, there is a roadmap, and it is being addressed with utmost urgency. Some of these things are pretty important for all the industry participants, sir, as we have actually seen. You talked about the empty container issue during the COVID period that literally brought certain difficulties for the industry with containers not being available, prices having gone up, and at the end, basically the material itself not being available. So also you touched upon the documentation part, sir. These are some of the things that all of us as industry participants would love to see, and it is going to help all of us here. I'm sure the audience would also have some questions on this. But before that, I would like to also bring in Mr. Alok Joshi to just comment on how, as a manufacturing company, how he has been actually working on building a future-ready network with so many changes that we talked about, especially in the COVID context, and also with many changes before. Mr. Joshi, if you could just express your views on this.
Thank you, Subbu. But before I start, I must clarify to Mr. Agarwal, sir, that a couple of weeks back, I had more layers than him because I was working out of a place close to Bhimtal in the north. And so I can appreciate the cold of the north as well. But jokes apart, sir, it is always such a pleasure to sit on these panels with you and, of course, with the other industry partners that we have here. Because, I always go back really far more knowledgeable and insightful. And just in the last 15 minutes of your talk, I think, it's a really great example of a government functionary, policy, professional who really understands the pain points and the opportunities for the entire sector and industry. So, sir, I really must put on record, even before I start, the real appreciation for, the work that you're doing. And of course, all the help and support you gave us during COVID period, which was really fantastic. Before I begin, and Subbu asked me to, touch upon the whole area of how, as a company, as a corporate, we are building a future-fit logistics network. I also wanted to reflect a little bit in the past on the fact that there are some mega trends in our sector which have been shaping the transformation of this sector. And the reality is that logistics is a very big sector in the economy. And it's really like a Titanic, and it does not, is not easy to move. And it moves and transforms with a lot of, strategic interventions. These interventions could be in the form of, big policy changes or changes in the ecosystem, or indeed some, real black swan events, And I must say that if I look back in the last 5 years, and even, a little bit more, we have probably seen all of these happening in our market. And one of the big, of course, the policy changes which indirectly impacted the entire logistics network is the GST. the reality is that having one integrated economic union of India had a huge impact, and I can say with the personal knowledge of how such a vast network of Hindustan Unilever, which moves almost 30 million tons every year, changed on account of just that one policy intervention. It was not just allowed us to go a lot more direct. It not only allowed us to do a lot more of co-loading, but actually the logistics savings were big enough to actually warrant our manufacturing network transformation. So that's really, I think we should all take to just reflect about it, that many times the inefficiency in logistics actually result in huge inefficiencies in manufacturing. And sometimes when we change the logistics network, we can actually transform the manufacturing competitiveness. And it is exactly what happened with us in the economy. So I think, and not just for us, I think it was a real opportunity which helped a lot of industries to modernize and move forward. So I think here is a great example, and sir, the kind of policy interventions that you are thinking about into the future, the whole thing around the logistics data stack, or really making track and trace much more affordable and actually enable it by design. I think it will again have huge amount of opportunity and implication in the simplification of the logistics network of the country. So here's one example, and of course, the entire ecosystem transformation. I really think that the whole, increased speed of digitization in the country, whether it is about the cost of data coming down or the cost of data analytics and processing coming down, and of course, a lot of the startup ecosystem that is really, in the form of people like Nitin from Pando and of course Freight Tiger, is an example of how we are actually leveraging the cost of data, cost of computing, which our country has serious advantage in, to actually bring together on board major disruptions in the way we operate our transportation network. And we have seen it. I mean, I must say that being a part of a multinational group, it gives me like a opportunity to have a bird's eye view of how we perform versus many other countries in the world. And I must say that the way in India HUL has embraced and leveraged the entire transport control towers to drive, whether it is truck utilization, whether it is truck right truck compliance. And of course, indeed, automated processes. It is far higher and far faster than any other, country in our network. So we can seriously take, pride on that. Having said that, actually, the reality is that, if I compare our manufacturing cost performance across the various countries, and I'm talking about Unilever now, and logistics cost performance, I can say safely, and you all may be surprised to know, that our manufacturing cost performance is far better than our logistics cost performance across the world. Yeah, we are actually in many sectors manufacturing, cost beaters. Yeah, so no one comes close to us. Whereas in logistics cost, actually, even if I compare myself to neighboring countries, yeah, my logistics costs are far higher. So clearly, it is an area which we need to, think a lot about. Coming close to, the other big event that helped us really transform our network was a black swan event called COVID. Yeah, and of course, COVID had a huge impact in the demand patterns. Some formats for our company became what we call COVID obsessive. Some of you may know that the sale of immunity boosting kadha went up 100x times in the country. Yeah, and of course, sale of things like sanitizers went up manifold as well. And this was really an event which not only had an impact in terms of availability of drivers, availability of vehicles, but also big changes in demand. And it required us to respond in a very agile manner for that. I must say, overall, as a country, and again, if I look back at a lot of other countries in the world, our logistics recovery was far ahead of the logistics recovery in many countries. Yeah, and we really tracked that to see. And of course, within the country, we were very proud to also note that HUL's logistic recovery was also ahead of the curve. Of course, supported by partners like we have on this call as well. Um, but having said that, I think it really brought to fore for us the importance of agility and resilience in the network. I think it is also important to say that while we have all been very focused on efficiency, agility and resilience have not been of great focus for various businesses, and I think that is something that we really want to going ahead, focus on. Um, Coming a little bit on the future, I think, and this is where I really connect with what Mr. Agarwal was saying. The brutal reality is that our logistics competitiveness as an economy is really lagging. Our costs are, at least 2x more than comparable economies. Our travel times are high. I would say at the root of it is what Mr. Agarwal alluded to, which is really the low asset utilization in the entire sector. So whether it is vehicle utilization, whether it is indeed warehouse utilization, whether it is driver utilization or time utilization, and indeed all the blocked inventory, it all adds up to huge amount of cost, non-value added cost in our network. The good news is that we have got a lot of probable solutions which we can embrace. I think with the kind of solutions that Mr. Agarwal alluded to, especially if we can make the logistics data stack happen and really have a seamless, transparent, visible, performance scorecard across the country for various logistics parameters, I think we can definitely improve our performance. Because in business, there is one thing that we know, that what you measure is what you improve. If we can measure our performance in a granular manner, whether it is speed, whether it is cost, whether it is idling, whether it is underutilization, if we can measure, I think we can improve. We have a lot of ingenuity in this country to find, solutions, but we really need transparency of information to improve things. And of course, I think the entire area of paperless and contactless secure transactions is again going to be a huge enabler for this transformation to happen. So, once again, I just wanted to, end by saying that there is one thing that we have found very, very effective in our logistics performance, and I must say that our logistics performance also benchmarks well across the world for HUL, and it is something that we call BOLT, and that is a simple mantra of buy smart, operate efficiently, load more, and travel less. So as long as, and it's about buying smart, it is not about buying cheap. Yeah, I think technology can help us buy smart. Operate efficiently, certainly, we need to do a lot of, with a lot of help on digitization as well as physical transformation to operate efficiently. And of course, load more and travel less, need not say any further. I think if we can embrace this, certainly we can, take the country on the path of, future fit logistics network. And any small part that industry can play in that, Mr. Agarwal, I think on behalf of this entire group, I would certainly be confident in saying that we would be, willing and able to partner and move this agenda forward. So thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Joshi. Unilever being, one of the largest player in the logistics arena with many manufacturing companies, a very large footprint, comprising of suppliers, manufacturing units, and the distribution chain. Your initiatives and whatever you do in this area, it's going to pave way for other industry participants as well. And you've always been leading in that area. I clearly remember when Mr. Banga introduced, automation in warehousing in 1999 or so and 2000, when those initiatives got started. When the rentals were much lower, but still Unilever went ahead and started doing all these things, modernization of the logistics infrastructure, and many such initiatives. I'm sure there is more to come. And you talked about a lot about digitization, and that's why we have both Nitin and Sumesh here. I'll bring them onto the stage. Both Nitin and Sumesh, thanks for joining in. Please share your views on the overall digitization aspect in logistics, what your companies are particularly doing, and how it is going to create an impact in this area. Nitin, please.
Thanks, Ugo. Thanks for having me here, and thanks to IMEI as well. Sumesh, maybe we can just keep this as a discussion and talk through some of our ideas. Before I start, can't help but notice that when one of the things we wanted to do with the IMEI Logistics Committee, especially, was to sort of bring together, aggregators and transport providers on one hand, the shippers and the large corporates on the other, government agencies on the third, and digital startups on the fourth. And we provide a platform where these four entities can engage with each other to sort of bring about some progressive change. Just with this discussion in the last 15-20 minutes itself, been heartening to see the kind of ideas and the progressive thinking that's happening. Of course, always a pleasure to meet Mr. Pawan Agarwal and engage with him. Always come back very impressed with the vision and the thought process and the action. Oftentimes, it's one out of the three that we see in industry or in government, but the execution of that vision is something that I've always been extremely impressed by. And thanks for coming on this panel, sir. Mr. Lok, as Subbu said, I think at Pando and also broadly within the software as a service space, we sort of refer to some of these large corporates as whales, right? And refer to sort of some of what we're trying to do as whale hunting in terms of sort of bringing some of that, those companies to adopt technology. And it's also just like, given the size of it, always hard to move and get them to be agile is sort of the general mindset. In the last 4 to 5 years, we've been phenomenally impressed with some of these companies like Unilever, who have shown tremendous agility, especially in the supply chain space, right? Because more often than not, supply chain is one of those spaces where it's not enough if you are progressive yourself. It's also important that the ecosystem that serves you is progressive as well. And the ecosystem you serve in turn, the entire supply chain, so to speak, is all got to be progressive for any individual participant to have enough effectively make any change or progress. And really, I think, corporates like Unilever are sort of at the nexus of that entire supply network or demand network, where they're able to in turn sort of pull along their ecosystems of demand and supply to be able to, effectuate enough change, which we've seen with under Mr. Lok's leadership, companies like Unilever do really effectively, which is really encouraging. I think in the audience is a lot of startups and folks from the digital space, investors, and people from sort of startup India, right? And I think important for companies and aspiring as well as current entrepreneurs and founders to sort of recognize this change that we're going through. Logistics, we understand, is a large problem. We understand that there are inefficiencies, as there are in other industries as well. I think, India is a large economy and consequently lots of opportunities. Lots of government initiatives and infra to sort of and investments to really promote digital, promote solving of some of these problems. A lot of corporates in turn willing to support, engage, and encourage startups to in turn sort of build your MVP, build those convert those product problems into products and solutions, and really take on a partnership approach with some of these companies, and really a great ecosystem like IMAI to sort of bring all of this together, really, right? Which to me, I think, as an entrepreneur, as a founder, and talking to other founders in the ecosystem, is always really encouraging to see the kind of entrepreneurship that exists and the ecosystem that's able to sort of promote that, right? And that's really the intention with the IMAI logistics committee as well, to be able to sort of bring together some of these initiatives and bring together industry participants to do this. I think, a couple of quick points I'd like to cover, and then, would like to invite Sumesh to then, tell us what his views are. A lot of times when we talk about supply chain and logistics, especially in India, the conversation always sort of within the first minute or so wavers towards cost and cost reduction. Right? And I think that's very important, not to contest it at all. It is important that, costs are brought down within large businesses or businesses of any kind. Logistics is a cost center as well. And it's important to sort of take that point of view. The reality is that slowly that shift into sort of logistics and supply chain being a value center, where its contribution margins that are getting driven, is something that companies are beginning to realize as well. And of course, some companies are taking significant strides towards, especially with Bolt and such, to really understand how we can make money and increase customer satisfaction, improve service levels, increase resiliency and agility that Alok alluded to when he was speaking, to be able to sort of better serve our customers through that supply chain that we are building. And I think a lot of opportunity exists there, both for companies to sort of leverage technology to do that, for companies to be started and products to be built to in turn serve that that end outcome, for government to sort of drive further change. We've heard in multiple conversations with government agencies and Mr. Pawan as well, that yes, cost is important to be reduced, but let's talk about what more we can do in sort of improving service levels, improving efficiency, increasing agility, increasing resilience, and so on. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there that I think it's very important to sort of tap into. And two, I think digitization in some sense is only effective if it is digitization that can talk to each other. And it's something that, at least at Pando, we constantly talk about. And in logistics is something that is really, really a practical constraint, right? Even on this call, we've got, a corporate, we've got two technology partners, you've got, one of the country's largest, freight aggregators, you've got the government, and so on. And each of us are working on our own, oftentimes independent initiatives for digitization and process improvement and cost reduction and resiliency building. I think there's also a significant opportunity in bringing together, through a technology platform, through initiatives, through offline investments and infrastructure, all of these initiatives to come together. Because oftentimes the best solutions and the best problems are multifaceted, right? And the best solutions in turn have to bring together all of these fairly multivariate players and environments and ecosystems into a single network, right? Which is where I think folks like Sumesh are doing a great job. And maybe Sumesh, we would love to hear your perspectives about where India is heading and where logistics in India is heading specifically.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And it's always, I think, a disadvantaged starting point when you talk last, right? Essentially, most people have said what you've talked about already. So I'm not going to repeat what anyone said, but I think firstly, thank you to Mr. Pawan and thank you, Mr. Joshi. As always, it's great to see so much alignment and recognition of the issues, and the fact that we have leaders from various facets on this forum. I think from our perspective, the way we look at it is at Freight Tiger, when you look at the freight industry, and one of the first things that always gets talked about is the infrastructure is a challenge, and the sort of support systems are a challenge, etc. But I think the perspective we took was also to say, a few months back, I worked in a very different world. I worked at Swiggy, where we had more tracking and visibility on a 99 rupees biryani than what tracking and visibility today exists for cargo worth crores of rupees, right? And I think that is quite ironic in the sense that there is a lot that technology and transformation can do for food. The view we take is how can we enable that technology to support organizations deliver a leaner and a better supply chain, while folks like Mr. Pawan and the government is focused on larger infrastructure issues, right? I think from our perspective, one of the key things is visibility tracking. We're now at a stage where we can track pretty much with or without GPS devices, which is a big challenge in the industry, as you're aware. Now we can pretty much any truck that we want anywhere in the country. We have a live map in our control tower, literally mapping out every single truck that's available, which is great for our customers because they're able to take advantage of this technology, right? I think the second and the big part is, as most people alluded to on the forum, is the availability, the efficiency, today we're able to predict and forecast the kind of trucks that might be at full capacity, the kind of capacity that could go underutilized, and how do we better, load them. So there's lots that we can do to, without sort of blaming external circumstances, on getting better with our own operations and our customer operations. Right? I was on a call with a very large cement company earlier this morning, and we're talking about how, using some of these technology solutions, they've managed to reduce their cost by about 4%, and that's a significant number, as you know, in the larger scheme of things. I think the only sort of one other thing I would add is, especially in road logistics, one of the key participants and a key stakeholder is the driver. And I think, very often we treat those drivers as commodities who just have a role to play in the larger ecosystem. But I think taking that driver as an individual, as a human being who have their own learning curves, and focusing on how do you adopt and give them a digital education space where they are able to understand, the role of technology, the role of them in that whole sort of ecosystem and the process is very, very important. I mean, you can build some of the best tech in the world, but if the driver is not a willing participant in a lot of ways, I mean, that sort of undermines the whole effort. So that's the other thing we're focused on as a huge challenge in terms of how do you really bring the driver as a key participant in this ecosystem. So I think, again, I don't want to cover anything that's already been said, but I think that's some of the ways we are looking at how we can work and enable technology to significantly digitally transform our clients, because a lot of our clients, unlike Mr. Joshi's org, a lot of our clients still are sort of very, let's say, old school when it comes to some of the technology adoption. So there's a long way to go, but I think the coming together of both private participants and the public sector is the synergy that's needed to make both the software and the hardware work.
Thanks, Sumesh and Nitin. Sumesh, your point on driver and how do we actually bring them to the party, that's one of the most important aspects. I would like to just share 2-3 data points here. In 2015 or so, when we were starting up, the smartphone penetration with the drivers, it was less than 10%. And amongst the truck owners, it was less than 30-40%. Today, these numbers have significantly increased. With the truck owners, it has gone above 90%. and with the drivers it is about 60-65%, right? And this is, the places where we are actually working. When you take a survey, this number is again and again being proven, right? Now, how do we actually use this to, as you correctly said, transform the lives of the driver? That's one important area that all of us will have to really work towards. And even for the truck owners, for example, with demonetization coming in and with also lots of other initiatives having come in, for them to do digital transactions, it has been not so easy. It needs lots of education, even for the truck owners. Then we all can very well imagine what kind of education would be required with the drivers to really move them to certain digital, learning mode or any other transaction that would eventually help. All points well said. Very few minutes left. I have few questions that have come in, but one important question to Mr. Pawan Agarwal. He seems to be on a call. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not sure. Let him come back.
Maybe we just circle back.
Yeah, let him. Mr. Agarwal, whenever you are free, there is a question from the audience. Yeah. So, in the meantime, let me just bounce off some of the other questions. One to Mr. Joshi, how companies like Unilever, especially with Unilever, how you are actually leveraging on the advancements that have happened in technology and the digitization that we are seeing all across. What kind of initiatives, especially in logistics, a company like Unilever has been focusing on the digitization front? We have now e-way bills with e-invoicing, and with track and trace gaining more and more traction. Lots of digital payments happening all across in whether it is trucking or in any of your raw material purchases. How are you actually leveraging on this?
Sure. No, so before I answer that, I just want to connect back to a very important point that Sumesh made around enlisting our drivers into our journey and really, creating an ecosystem which looks after their well-being. I must say that there is a strong connect of that with the entire digitization transformation and digital transformation, because the latest thing, which I'm sure techies like you must be aware of, is the whole Internet of behaviors. Yeah, it's no longer Internet of Things, but I think if we can the entire safe driving behavior as well as the entire well-being behavior of our drivers, if we can somehow measure, digitize, and reward, I think it will really result in some huge gains for the industry. So I'm very keen to look into that as well, and it's clearly an area of focus for us. But coming back to the question, I think I just wanted to touch on something which probably we have not touched so far on. What is our thrust area for logistics transformation? So traditionally in industry, logistics has been frankly important behind the scene necessary infrastructure kind of player. And the most we expect from it is cost efficiency and reliability, right? But I think what we have been pushing on, particularly in Unilever, is to see how logistics can actually give us ability to grow the business more efficiently. And I think that's really a big and exciting area for us. And at the end of the day, I think logistics is about fulfillment of demand. And today, the reality is that all the inefficiencies translate into unfulfilled and poorly fulfilled demand and underserved and customers and consumers. And if we can get a greater reliability in our logistics network, to do that demand fulfillment much more reliably and with speed, I think there is a clear correlation of that with the business. So that is really what we are, focused on progressing now, and there is indeed a lot of exciting developments that are happening in that space on how we can use technology to make sure that almost 3 million odd SKU location combinations that we serve every day, we can serve with 99% reliability. Yeah, and believe me, that number is pretty low when you come to location line level availability measurement. Yeah, so if we can do that, then I think there's a huge opportunity for growth for us, and that's what we are focused on. And a lot of digital transformation is focused on that space as well, apart from everything else that we spoke about.
Sure. Right. Mr. Agarwal, so the question.
So maybe you can answer the question, or
I think that the people who could answer this question more than me might be you and Sumesh. So it's a very interesting question, and Nitin, you might remember in one of our earlier discussions, even with the special secretary, this thought came across. The question is, what is our view? What are our views on developing an infrastructure which is equivalent to India Stack, right? Which has helped the financial ecosystem to a great extent, starting with Aadhaar and then going up to UPI and then account aggregation. So you have created a stack, and there are multiple branches that are coming out, everything clearly linked and a very secure system. What is our view on creating something like that for logistics, which could eventually help all the ecosystem players, right? Before you answer that, Nitin, what Mr. Agarwal was talking about at the beginning of this session is exactly that. I think he's also back. Sir, are you able to hear us, sir?
Yeah, bataiye.
Yeah, sir, there is a very interesting question for you. And the question says that, the person is asking about our views on developing an infrastructure which is very similar to the India Stack in the financial ecosystem that introduced Aadhaar first, then UPI, then account aggregation, by having a very clear link and a secure, model. Eventually, it allows us to come up with multiple other possibilities. A similar structure in logistics. What is your view on that? And I was just trying to tell them that the part that you talked about initially, your vision on the overall, by linking all different systems in logistics area, it is something similar, but we would be very happy to hear your views on this, sir.
This is precisely what we are trying to do.
Yeah.
In fact, parallelly, Niti Aayog has been working on this idea in the name of Unified Logistics Interface Portal or platform, ULIP. And the idea is very similar, that at the back end, you have all these ministries and agencies who are working in the logistics space, and their data systems are there, and their IT solutions are there. On the top of it, you create an integration layer through API interface, and then make much of this data available to technology companies so that they can leverage this and provide market-based solutions for ease of logistics in the country. Now, having spent 6 months in this, and I may not have discussed with you, Subbu, but I have discussed with many of your clever friends who may be on this call. Okay. So, first we were very enthusiastic we can do it.
Right.
But as we have gone into more and more details of it, we are now beginning to realize that while fundamentally this looks like a good idea, but to what extent we can actually create a data stack like it is done in financial sector or many other sector may have its limitations, because the number of elements or number of variables that you are talking about is huge in logistics space, and preceding any such integration, because the four modes of transport are defined by different laws.
Right.
So we have already unified those laws, and it means that terminology and processes across different modes of transport. So that work has been done in some sense. Processes streamlining is happening. So we are enabling the back-end physical systems to be able to talk to each other. Now, technologically, to what extent we will be able to do it, I'm not very sure. So I don't want to give any hopes. Our vision is the same as you are mentioning. Our aspiration is the same, but I think we have to be cautiously optimistic about it. Okay, so I'm using the word cautiously optimistic. So I cannot say that we will do it in 2 months' time, 3 months' time, but we are working on this. That's it.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your comments on this and also for your presence here. I'm sure it would have given a good visibility on what the government has been working on and what your vision has been. Thanks everyone for participating today. It has been a very enriching session for all. Thank you once again, and Happy New Year to you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramasubramanian. A special thanks to Mr. Akbar for joining us and sparing his special time with us. And I would also like to thank our partners, who are our Diamond partner, Google, Platinum partners, InMobi and Facebook, Digital Growth partner, Microsoft, Omnichannel partners, Zendesk, Customer Experience partner, Adobe, and Customer Engagement partner, Infobip. Please stay tuned for other exciting discussion. Thank you. We are signing.